Unfortunately, not every state is really on board with all the good things. You know, we've seen a lot of states nullify marijuana laws on several levels. Some are just doing it in the medical marijuana. Some have even gone all the way to recreational marijuana and allowing that to be legal. In the meantime, we have other states, I'm sure you've seen here, that Oklahoma and Nebraska are actually suing Colorado over its legalization of marijuana. So clearly there are other states where the majority of people are maybe, not as inclined to freedom as some others. So I'm curious, I just want to run this kind of hypothetical by you that I sort of dreamed up here. Now, let's picture a situation where the roles were kind of reversed. Let's say we saw states like, as we do see right now, sort of with Oklahoma and Nebraska, that are saying, we want to keep marijuana illegal. We don't like that this other state next to us is making it legal. And let's say the federal government actually wanted to step in. Obviously, that's not their current posture at all. But if the federal government actually finally took the stance of, you know what? We're ending the war on drugs. We don't think we should be pursuing, people who use marijuana, heroin, any of that stuff. But what if there are still states then that say, well, we think it's wrong. We think we should put people in jail for this stuff. Would you support a kind of a federal nullification of states, even though that's really not the way the Constitution is laid out? But in concept, that would be defending individual rights. So how would you view that scenario?
Okay, that is a very good question because it feeds into two different ways of thinking about this and figuring out which one should trump the other. On the one hand, there is the view that it's best to have many different jurisdictions. So that was Hayek's view, that the more jurisdictions you have and the smaller the states are, the more likely liberty is to flourish for a variety of different reasons. On the other hand, there is the view that even if you have a centralized government, it could still do good things for you. It could abolish this or that bad practice. It could impose liberty on the states. And Walter Block's view is that I'm perfectly okay if the federal government does the right thing. I don't care if it's constitutional or not. If it does the right thing and tries to prevent coercion, then, I can support even that as long as it's just doing something that stops coercion. And, in the old days, I would have said, I think on balance, I still have to say that the states can have the right to be stupid. And, if you don't like it, at least you have a possibility to move. Whereas the federal government may be your friend today, but when it's your enemy, you have nowhere to go. And now it has a precedent. It's built up precedents for getting involved in the lives of the states. And yes, it's your friend now, but is it going to be your friend next year? Like, for example, what if the United Nations said we're going to get rid of the drug war all around the world? I personally think that'd be a mixed blessing because what's the United Nations going to want to do next? These are all concerns. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't have an easy answer to that. Of course, my libertarian instinct is I don't want those states doing those things. But my long-term concern is, I think the federal government in the long run is a bigger threat to liberty than Oklahoma is. And even though in the short run it can help me with Oklahoma, in the long run, I bet I'm going to want Oklahoma to help me against it. Of course, it'd be nice to give you a quick pat response, but I'll tell you that I just really am conflicted in my mind about where ultimately I would come down on that.